had somewhat of a interesting weekend, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
More so, like more interesting than a normal weekend, but maybe not the most interesting to everybody. Did a lot of coding this weekend, but that's not really what was interesting. So my it's I guess my second cousin, I guess is the best way to describe this, is on the US women's national soccer team
Hmm.
and went to Paris and has a gold medal. Like
Wow.
was on the team, and so they were in town because the US women's national team is in the World Cup or whatever qualifying, and they're playing Ireland this weekend in Cincinnati. So
Mm-hmm.
my dad's cousin, who's also named Brad, which is effectively known as Big Brad, was in town and
I
brought
like that you're little Brad, but
yeah,
go on.
that's the way it's always been. I mean,
Yeah.
he's on his high horse being a lawyer in DC and a major in the Air Force. Like he can
Sure.
just go right now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I got a great joke to tell you after this one. Not appropriate for the podcast.
Gotcha.
Anyways, he was in town and brought the gold medal. I'm like I've never seen one of these like in person.
Yeah. They're impressive, right? Like weighty and
Yeah.
yeah.
They let my daughter wear it, and
It's not like oh, that's what that was. I saw that photo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like something you get in a box of Cracker Jacks. Like
no,
it's,
like it was
actually,
pretty neat. So
yeah.
and-
Unlike Apple Intelligence is like something you get. Yeah.
Apple Intelligence is there's a bell curve in life.
Yep.
You got like OpenAI way down here.
Yeah.
Apple Intelligence is just looking up at the arc and going, well, maybe one day.
Yep. Siri's right next to it going, is it raining? They'll get there, man.
Will they?
The little AI engine that could. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it impacts them too much, really.
Yep.
Other than the embarrassment in the headlines and
Right.
everything else.
Yeah, it's important to have navel gazing.
It is. Well, speaking of navel gazing, I don't know. I got nothing. It was a weekend. Spent a lot of time with AI this weekend. Claude specifically, because I've been building this app and I've mentioned it probably like 9 million times, and I finally realized sort of my fatal flaws and how I was doing this. So I had to re-architect the entire thing, which learning, I think, is because previously there was an app and I tried to make it like a client server relationship because I wanted to run in the system tray. I wanted to run in the system tray headless. The problem is that when the main app is open, because I have lots of fancy UI elements, it's like it takes up like I don't know, 500 megs of RAM, maybe 700 depending on what you're doing.
Jeez. Okay.
You can't really do that in the background. So I initially
Did you make a web browser, Brad? What's
no. Well, it's more of like a SQL.
Why is it using so many resources? Okay.
Well, it's got a lot of animations, and
Okay. Sorry.
my optimizations are not there. So then I was like, man, I can't have this running in the background all the time because people will lose their mind. Like if you're using hundreds of megs of RAM in the background. So then I split it off into like a client server relationship where there's a little tiny app that lives in the system tray that does all the work and then just pushes it to the main app, which seemed like the right maneuver because that would.
Sorry to interrupt. What's the environment for this? Like, what's
this is a .NET app.
Yeah. .NET, like a, I don't know, WPF app? Like,
So the main element is a WPF. WPF app. So what I was doing was using, what do they call it, IPCs or whatever in Windows that allow you to tunnel information to it. And so like I had this all set up and it worked, but it wasn't stable. Like it kept losing connection and things would happen, like whatever. And then I was like, I'm an idiot. The little app, all it should be doing, which is gathering all the resources and like doing the monitoring, should just be writing to a database, a SQLite database. And then the main app should just be read only and just read the database. And then I don't need any interconnections. And so like that's where I'm at. I spent all weekend realizing that was the appropriate way to architect this solution rather than trying to make it overly complicated.
I mean, I wish I could tell you I spent my time more wisely this weekend, but I also spent a bunch of the chunk of the weekend working and programming stuff. And all I do is just recreate the same app poorly again and again and again.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Yeah. I am doing, well, I believe I am doing everything right, but this is the type of thing I spend my time on. I can open a file. I can save that file after it's been edited. But if you create a new file and try to save that, it freezes the app every time. And it is based on the documentation on Microsoft site, 100% correct.
Based on my extreme lack of knowledge about anything that you're doing, are you doing that on the main UI thread and that's what's locking it up?
I've done it 2 different ways. I've done it, in fact, well, originally I made this thing modularized. It's not a true like MVVM kind of model, but is separation. So I have a file operations class that handles this stuff. I was actually worried it might be that because I'm using the Windows App SDK now, which I'm not super familiar with, and it's got its own set of challenges, believe me. But eventually I was like, you know what? I should just test that. Like maybe some of the problem, like you have to get a handle to a window to throw up a file picker, which is a file opener, say dialog, like it's the 1990s. Like, and I was worried that maybe I wasn't passing the main window to get the handle, blah, 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 correctly. Anyway, I ripped it out. Well, I didn't rip it out. I redid it in the main application because, I knew the handle would be correct. But then I actually used the debugger to see that I was getting the handle correctly. So it just doesn't work. It just freezes. I have no idea. I'm literally going to go back and just write a simple app that will just save a new file just to see what happens, see if it crashes that app too, because I have no idea what's going on. And it is, I spent hours on this. Hours. I spent most of Sunday on this.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time using AI to help me write terminal outputs to understand where the hang was occurring and why things were breaking.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about AI about that as well, but I don't remember the exact, it doesn't matter, but you do this thing where you say like, this isn't working, like data binding something, right? And you're like, how do I fix this? And then it gives you the code and you put it in and it still doesn't work. And you say, hey, this isn't working. And it says, the reason this isn't working, Paul, is because this wasn't done and this wasn't done. And I'm like, yeah, you were the one that gave me the code. So it actually got there, in that case eventually.
That's usually how it works. It usually eventually gets there. But it has that meme where it's like Obama giving Obama another medal and like to himself. Like that's what AI does. It's like, look, I've solved all your problems. Like you wrote the problems.
You're saying that AI is the world's best boss mug given to himself by the boss.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's what it does. Like it does. I had it help me doing some things and says, I found the problem in all the code. It says, this is what, and like, it's like,
you gave me the code.
It's like, why didn't you?
What do you mean you found the problem?
I will tell you that I have had it delete files because it thought it found the right thing and I needed those files, and then it gets real bad. So now I've started ending, at least on Claude 4, Sonnet 4, saying, please explain what you're going to do. Don't do anything. And then it lists everything out so I can at least see what it's trying to do to better understand what's going on. But yeah.
If you Google these programming problems now, like if you go to Google, and in my case, I would say something like WinUI 3 save pick or whatever it's called, is freezing the app or whatever. Like it actually, it does that AI summary thing at the top.
Yeah.
So for code questions like this, it actually summarizes the code it thinks you should do. So it's sort of like what you see in the editor now when you use whatever you use, like GitHub Copilot or Cursor or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I guess, I'm sure Stack Overflow is not too happy about that, but like, I don't know. We're already replacing you in the browsers. In the editor as it is. So I guess what's the difference at this point? But yeah, it is kind of it's interesting.
Well, I'm going to go take my kid to summer camp.